During the mid-1700s, while the 7 Years' War was raging, Britain captured tens of thousands of French sailors. Dozens of letters intended for some of those sailors were confiscated before reaching them. They were eventually put away in an archive box, and a historian at Britain's Cambridge University recently located and opened them, the first time since they were written 265 years ago that the letters were seen. Most were written by women. Many are love letters with phrases like, "I embrace you with my heart," and days seem like months and months like years. One was from a sailor's mother, though, who was disappointed that her son hadn't written more often. Realizing that these letters never got to the men they were addressed to, the professor reading them in modern times said the experience was very emotional, but that the letters weren't unique to France or to the 18th century. He said, quote, "They reveal how we all cope with major life challenges and that what people wrote about feels very familiar." We're checking in on the state of the U.S. economy next on The World from A to Z. I'm Carl Azus. Always great to see you. Predicting what will happen with the economy is like predicting the weather. It is not an exact science. One tool economists have for their forecasts is the U.S. government's monthly jobs report. It gives a snapshot of how some economic indicators looked the month before, and from that, experts can shape their expectations for the future. In October, about 150,000 jobs outside the farming industry were added in America. Economists had expected that number to be 180,000. It had been 297,000 in September. Because the new number was significantly lower than both of those, some analysts are concerned the economy is slowing down. The unemployment rate, the percentage of American workers who don't have a job, ticked up to 3.9% in October. It had been 3.8% in September. Those are considered low levels, historically speaking. But October's figure is the highest unemployment rate since January of 2022. How about inflation, when prices rise and each dollar buys less in terms of goods and services? It's been at 3.7% in recent months, meaning prices are that much higher than they were a year ago at this time. That's considered elevated because American economists generally want inflation to stay at 2%. But while it's at a higher point than it was over this summer, inflation's 3.7% level is still much lower than it's been since April of 2021. This year, the U.S. economy has continued growing, and the government says consumer spending has been strong. People continue to buy lots of stuff. That's a good economic sign. But there are numerous Americans struggling to make ends meet.
Juggling multiple gigs. The latest jobs report from the Labor Department shows nearly 8.4 million people had multiple jobs in October. That's the highest number since the start of the pandemic. And women appear to be leading that trend. The federal data shows nearly 6% of women worked multiple jobs in October. That's compared to 4.7% of men.
Our cost of living has almost tripled since 2020.
Experts say people may be taking on additional jobs to offset high inflation, which has been easing but is still painfully high for some households. Nonprofits like the United Way say inflation is outpacing wage growth, and that's making it harder for them to help families.
Wages do not reflect how important they are to everyday living.
Remote work is also offering more flexibility and opportunities for workers to manage several jobs from home. And there's also fear that layoffs could have people looking for supplemental jobs, but one economist says layoffs are actually historically low right now.
Companies are reluctant to lose their workers, and they're willing to negotiate even higher salaries to keep them.
I'm Patrick Cornell reporting.
On this date in world history. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, November 8th, 1731. Some dude named Ben Franklin did something with books. Specifically, the U.S. founding father helped open a library. It was called the Library Company of Philadelphia, and it was significant because it's widely seen as being the first or one of the first lending libraries in the North American colonies. At one point, Franklin himself was a librarian there. Also on November 8th, in 1895, Röntgen rays came on the scene. They might be better known as X-rays, but they were discovered by a German physicist named Wilhelm Röntgen. He used the term X-ray because this form of electromagnetic radiation was unknown at that time. His discovery dramatically changed the practice of medicine, and Röntgen went on to receive a major award for it, the first Nobel Prize for Physics. It was presented in 1901. El Niño events take place every few years. They're a natural warming of Pacific Ocean surface temperatures that can affect weather worldwide. Here's why meteorologists are predicting a strong El Niño event this year. This is a graphic from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It lays out Pacific temperatures during every El Niño event since 1950, and this year's are in line with the more pronounced El Niños. To illustrate the far-reaching effects an El Niño can have, the Pacific temperature change can impact weather patterns from Canada to South America and from parts of Africa to southern Asia and Australia. So what might it mean for this winter in the U.S.? Based on previous El Niño years, temperatures across the south tend to be colder and rainier, while the northeast and northwest generally see warmer and drier conditions with less snowfall. But again, these are predictions based on what's happened before. Meteorologists say no two El Niño events are exactly the same.
Word of knowledge. Which of these modern-day countries was not once part of the Roman Empire? Spain, Ireland, Egypt, Turkey. The vast Roman Empire stretched well beyond the Mediterranean region, but it did not include Ireland.
From the sands near Sardinia, a treasure returns to light. Roman artifacts are commonly found in this region. It's near the heart of the Roman Empire itself. Sardinia is the larger Italian island you see in the center left part of your screen. An amateur diver was exploring the area and reportedly told officials there was something metallic in the water. Professional investigators then found the trove of between 30,000 and 50,000 Roman coins. Italy's Ministry of Culture says the currency dates back to the 4th century AD. It might have come from a shipwreck, though authorities don't know that for sure. What they are sure of is that the coins are remarkably well preserved, and they'll be used to more deeply understand the heritage of this ancient region. I'm Lindsay Wolfgang Mast for The World from A to Z.
We're starting with some good counsel on today's World of Viewers segment, talking about Council, Idaho, where we've got the Lumberjacks watching today. Great to see everyone in Mr. Joyce's class at Council Junior Senior High School. And in Augusta, a city in the Peach State of Georgia, it's great to see the students of Mrs. Lowry's class at Augusta Christian Middle School. Let's go Lions!
A Harvard physics professor just finished going the distance running all the way from San Francisco to New York City. Professor and marathon runner Jennifer Hoffman started the nearly 3,000-mile intrepid trek on September 16th with a plan to average 60 miles a day in an attempt to chase after and beat the world record for the fastest transcontinental run by a woman. Hoffman's trek took her along scenic highways and byways, and she documented the journey on her Facebook page called Run Jenny Run. On November 3rd, Hoffman finished the journey in New York City in under 48 days. If confirmed, she will have beaten the standing world record by more than a week.
Jenny isn't the only one on the run in today's show. Why did the coyote cross the airport runway? To run away from airport police? The four-legged perpetrator recently entered a restricted area in Los Angeles, California. A news helicopter stopping there to refuel captured the chaos on camera as the animal led authorities on a wild coyote chase before the capricious canine finally found its way away from the airport. Even before he took off, he was cleared for takeoff right after his arrival landed him on the wrong tarmac. Animal traffic control was delayed and security was booked on a sort of carousel carrying on the fragile customs of his departure. And while that wasn't on time, he did eventually conclude his stopover and got just the ticket to the right gate, with agents hoping his trip abroad was one way. I'm Carl Azus, and that's The World from A to Z. Hopefully you'll fly with us again Thursday.